All right, drawing number 2 is direction sign. Now, direction sign is a cool one because we're going to add a new tool. We're going to measure to a smaller size. And also the measurements now include decimals. So we'll get to all that in a minute. The first thing that I'm going to do is tape up my piece of paper. T-square up against the side, resting it on there. And just 4 small pieces of tape, don't need much. That's taped up. And now I'm also going to find the center of the drawing space. What's the center of the drawing space? Is it the center of the paper? No. I'm going to reference this sheet again. Within a couple of drawings, you're going to remember these numbers like no problem. But it's going to be 4 inches down from the top, 5.5 inches in from the left or right hand side. So 5.5. And the triangle that we used on inlay is the 45, 45, 90. So I'm just going to use it because no real reason. And that's the center of our drawing space right there. Okay. Let's look at this drawing. We have, it's an 8-inch by 5-inch rectangle. There's 2 different layers. And there's an arrow sign. This is the main thing. And there's a 60-degree angle in there. Not a 45 anymore. We're adding 60 degrees, which means we need to use the 30, 60, 90 triangle. That's going to be used today. The other thing that we notice right here, it says 2.25. Where the fractions of an inch go? We're going to start using decimal equivalents. On this piece of paper, which will be a handout definitely included in this lesson, we can see decimal equivalents. So I can read down the ruler and I can find a normal fraction like 1/2, and that's related directly to 0.5000. So 2.25, I can look on here, 0.25, I find 1/4. 0.25 is an easy one. If you have 25 cents, you have 1/4. If you have a quarter, you have 25 cents. Also, on here it says 0.12. This is 0.125. What's 0.125? I'm going to find these out beginning at the start of the drawing, and then I'll get into it later. 0.125, 1/8 of an inch. We're measuring down to an 1/8 of an inch and a 1/4 of an inch. We didn't even do this last time. So, I've got enough information to get started. There's the box and there's the arrow. The arrow is more complicated than the box, so I'm going to start with that. The same way that I said we never title block before we draw, you are going to start with the hardest thing, and then if you need to, it's just easy to restart. So, I'm looking at the arrow. The arrow is 6 inches long. I've got my square up, a line 3 inches right up at the center of my drawing space. Point at 6 and a point at 0. Sweet. Now the tip of this arrow is right on that center line. So that's what I'm going to start with. It's a 60-degree angle, but drawing a 60-degree angle, well, how could I do that? I could set up this. Well, I don't have any horizontal or vertical reference for it. So I'm going to bisect that 60-degree angle. Bi is in 2, so 60 divided by 2 is a 30-degree angle. I can make this with a 30-degree triangle. I'm going to put that tip right on here. Whoa. And draw it back. Now to draw the other way, flip my triangle over. And that's going to be my point. Now, this area of the direction sign is probably the most difficult, and we'll talk about why in a minute. What I'm going to do now is come back the other way and make these lines. I'm going to draw this chunk of the arrow. So it's 1 inch tall. So I'm going to set up any random inch on that dot, go up 1/2 inch, down 1/2 inch. That gives me a place to start. I'm going to draw my vertical line because it's in line with that back side. And now look at that. We've got the back side all started. Next, what other dimensions do they tell us about this arrow? Well, I know that from this line, which I just drew, to this line is 60 degrees. But I don't know how far it is from here to there. I do know how far it is from here to here, so I'm going to start with that. It's 2.25. If you have $2.25, you've got 2 1/4. At that point. Two 1/4. Now, I know that angle, 60 degrees. I take my triangle, line it up with that point, which is 2 1/4 away. And that comes up. Now I have to flip it around this way. And there we go. You'll see I drew those lines wrong. I'd prefer to come back with my eraser shield and just erase that, and that. I knew that I was going to have to measure it and then cut it back later, so I'll do that now. We have a drafting brush here at school. Unfortunately, we're not enough to hand out, but you don't need it. You just lightly blow that away or brush it away. Next, I need to draw this rectangle. So I'm going to look at the dimensions. It's 8 inches by 5 inches, and that's to the outside. Then we're going to go in and make those 2 little borders. So first, I'm going to measure from that center point, right here. I'm going to measure out half the distance, out half the distance, up half the distance, down half the distance. 8 inches. I'm going to put 4 right in the middle. Dot. Dot. It's 5 inches tall. I'm going to put 7.5. So here's the deal. I could put 2 inches, like right down there, but it's popping up on the end of my board. So to keep it all flat, I'm going to put 7.5 right on my center mark, which means that it's 2.5 inches away from 5 and 2.5 inches away from 10. Now I've got my 4 points. I am drafting right now with a 3H pencil. So then it's going to be easier to erase any mistakes or any guidelines that I might draw. There's that. And clean up those corners right now. Could do that at the end, that's up to you. Now, so far, whenever I've been measuring anything vertically or horizontally, if I didn't have a reference, I used my T-square to make sure that I can measure precisely. Now that I already have this horizontal line, the bottom horizontal line, and these vertical lines, I don't need to use my T-square. I can just line my scale up with those lines and then measure on it. How far am I going to measure? Well, let's look at this. See these little arrows? It might be hard to see on this paper. You actually probably have a better picture than I currently have. From the outside line, the one that I just drew, to the middle line is 0.25, quarter of an inch. Then from the middle line to the innermost line is 0.125. What's 0.125 again? Oh, 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to measure in 1/4 of an inch and then in another 1/8 of an inch. And that will give me these 2 borders. I got to do that all the way around. I'm going to sharpen my pencil real quick. With these sharpeners that you have in the kit, I'm using the same one right now. Sometimes it can make a point that's almost too sharp. So I'm going to rotate that a little bit and clean it up. Now, I've got all my lines down. I'm drawing the horizontal lines first because I feel like it. There's no correct which line to draw first. That doesn't matter. There's also no correct triangle to use. If you like using your 45, 45, 90 for verticals, you can. I'm using the 30, 60, 90 because then I don't need as many tools in my workspace. I can just keep the 30, 60, 90, and that's it for this drawing in particular. Awesome. Lines are all down. Now you really get to use your eraser shield for the first time where it really matters. Like in that 1/8 of an inch, I can put that down, erase in that little section, and get a very, very clean little line. That right there, maybe hard to see. I'll give you a, oh. Right here. See how that little horizontal line intersects that vertical line? It would be next to impossible to erase each side of that. So what I'm gonna do is erase that whole thing. I'm gonna go back over that line in a minute with my F pencil to darken it up, so that's all right. Another thing that unfortunately you guys are missing out, not being in the classroom, is that we encourage you guys to listen to music when you're in here. You don't get to play your own headphones. That's a school rule. But we do have a big speaker system going, which obviously isn't going for recording this video. But if you want to put on some music in the background, go ahead, feel free to. If you listen to audiobooks or anything like that, this is a perfect time to do that. You can focus on what you're doing and listen to music in the background. But don't change every other song. Put on a playlist and leave it, okay? Because this is what's more important. I would suggest maybe starting the first few in silence, and then later on you could add some music. All right, so now I'm just going to go around and darken this up. Ooh, just overshot a corner. I'll be going back to fix that in a minute. Bing, bang, boom, done. Ooh, got some ugly double lines over here. What's a double line? Double line is if I have this line and then another line that's next to it that kind of branches off. So two lines that are very close together. It's supposed to be one line, but it looks like two. And there we go. What's next? Do I pass it in right now? No. We need a title block. We went over this in the inlay video. And we're going to do the 1/2 inch border. And then do that. Let's see. I'm going to do that with F. That's that border. I'm going to come up 5/8 of an inch. I'm going to break that 5/8 down into individual 1/8 of an inch. These guidelines are as light as possible. Measure in 2 inches, 2.5 inches, another 2.5 inches, and then finish it off with 2 inches. Now I just have to fill it in. Before I fill it in, I'm just going to clean up some extra corners. Again, you could do this at the end. Approved. Grade. Design technology. Now remember, this is all capitals, single stroke Gothic font. Oakmont Reg High School. Part name. What's the part name? The part name is direction sign. Drawn by Mr. Jones. Now, if you look underneath direction sign, you'll see that it says scale full. So this will be scale full. And then today's date. And then DRNO, drawing number 2. That's it. Now I'm going to go back, erase those guidelines as best as I can while leaving all the words. So can't get everything, that's alright, but give it your best shot. And yes, the trick for this is probably going to come in, I think I'll put it in the next video. So don't worry. Gonna check for any final smudges. Clean it up. And voila. That's drawing number 2, direction sign. This is the second drawing, so you should have been a little bit better than the first drawing. Getting a little bit more of the touch. It is a learning curve. This is a thinking class, not a drawing class. So solving the puzzle and figuring out how to draw it is really where the challenge lies. Drawing number 2, direction sign.